The 712th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMASGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we're also brought to you by Rebet, a new sports book available in 45 states. Download Rebet in your app store and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match of up to $100. And finally, we're brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing the college football and NFL seasons with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Heidi ho, degenerinos. Welcome to episode 712 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to the MMA upside, who on YouTube very correctly stated Gumby been killing it. It's wrong. It's incorrect grammar, but Gumby has been killing it. So thank you, MMA upside, for bringing that to everyone's attention. But this here is a UFC episode. So this is my realm. I would be the king of the North, Taco Fox. Gumby's pretty good at this stuff too, this UFC stuff. But we got a pay-per-view to cover today for you, UFC 310. Actually, this episode is not the pay-per-view. This is the lead up to the pay-per-view, aka the prelims. So we got early prelims and the main prelims breakdown preview today. Actually, we're going to tell you who's going to win, so it's going to be a review because everything we say happens. So let's bring in the man we just talked about, the man who been killing it, Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello.
Hey, yeah, and this is a weird undercard, is it not? A lot of bizarre lines, a lot of thank God we're seeing this guy fight. Like one of those moments. And I'm excited for it.
A lot of two former champions, which is very rare. You don't see that on prelims very often.
And a Strikeforce champion, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Strikeforce never die. Yeah, the lines. I hate the lines this week. I just hate the lines this week.
Are you going to be? Is the Chalky Fox going to get a little crazy, or is he going to? Maybe. Usually that's a hard no. But I said, is the Chalky Fox going to get crazy? And you
sorry, no. The Chalky Fox is going to get chalky more than likely, unless he gets talked off some picks. So, especially the main card, there's some lines that are pretty wide, and they're getting wider. Like I updated it. Like within a few hours, they're even wider than they were when I originally did the research. My prediction is one of these big wide lines on tomorrow's episode you're going to be in on. I guarantee at least one of them.
On tomorrow's episode?
Yeah, the main card. There's like 4 fighters plus 250 or higher. I bet it would be.
You feel like that's a Gumby guy?
I don't know who or what, but that's my guess.
Yeah, you're not good at predicting my picks like I am, like picking your picks.
Ladies and gentlemen. That's like as I said off top, today is all about the prelims, though. And as Gumby said, it's kind of a wacky prelims. A lot of people you wouldn't expect to see in the prelims, stuff like that. So we're gonna get into it after I pull up my ad reads. First of all, I am nothing but professional and prepared heading into each and every episode. As I said, early prelims, main prelims. But we're going to do it all for you. Come on. What am I telling the people about first, Gumby? Do you know off the top of your head? Because my ad reads are not reading. I think it's not Thanksgiving anymore. Thanksgiving's over. Here it is. It's download our app. You shouldn't even have to be told this. It should be done already. But download the SGPN app. It's completely free, and you have easy access to all the shows and all our picked pages. And I should mention all our articles as well. Gumby and I are churning out the articles every day, and a new feature as of December, we have daily MMA best bet articles, like quick hitter articles every day, a different subject. You could say, like one day it'll be a main card UFC, one day it'll be prelim UFC, and then we'll have underdog one day, we'll have props one day, we'll have regional on a few days. So yeah, check it all out. You can check it out on the app, SGPN app. So it's free wherever you get your apps. Just search SGPN and you can get our stuff. All right, let's get jumping on this here card. It is 6 p.m. start as per usual for the UFC pay-per-view events. It's going down in Paradise, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena, Saturday night. Here, ticket sales are very, very soft for this here event, but I guess that's not really a big surprise. They have 2 flyweights on top, probably They're flyweights, so they're unknown. Not a heck of a lot of marquee names on the fight card, and UFC just may not be as hot as it once was in Las Vegas. So let's start things off after I paint that rosy picture. It's going to get even rosier because we got a Brzeski fight to break down. First of all, heavyweights, Kennedy and Nzechukwu, Brzeski, they kick off the early prelims. ESPN News, ESPN Plus, UFC Fight Pass. And we're going to tell you about Brzeski first. The Bull. Yes, he is still in the UFC. He's 9-5-1 with 1 no contest, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times, 1-4 in the UFC, 1-4 over his last 5. He lost his last fight via TKO, but he's a heavyweight, so he still has a job.
He's a heavyweight now.
Series, he won his fight, got his contract, failed a drug test. So I guess he got away with it, technically, because he's in the UFC. Actually, he's been fighting since 2013. He's got better striking stats than Nzechukwu. He's got a positive strike differential of 1.39. So that is a positive, despite him losing. Plus 450 on the board. And Kennedy Nzechukwu is the African savage. His words, not mine. 13-5, 9 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out twice, submitted once. 7-5 in the UFC. He is taking this fight on short notice. 1-2 over his last 3, 4-2 over his last 6. Won his last via TKO. Used to fight at light heavyweight. He's kind of the past few years, I guess, he's been bouncing back and forth, heavyweight, light heavyweight. 2-0 in Contender Series. Based on the last weigh-ins, he was 6 pounds heavier than Brzeski, so he's definitely big enough for heavyweight. An inch taller, 5 inches of reach. He's more active landing strikes than Brzeski is. He's outstruck his opponents by about half a strike. He's at plus 0.51. So basically, I take significant strikes landed, significant strikes headed on your face and your stomach and your knees and whatnot. So he's in the positive. He's at minus 575 for early, for a late replacement. Gumby, kick off.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kennedy and Nzechukwu. The line's kind of goofy. And, you mentioned it back there a second ago. Brzeski is a heavyweight, and that's why he has a job. But, like, he's a heavyweight now. He hasn't always been a heavyweight, right? Like, he was a light heavyweight. This is an attempt to save his career, which, it kind of is for Kennedy and Nzechukwu, right? Like, they probably would have released him, too, if he was still trying to make it at light heavyweight. So, I'm not real high on this Kennedy and Nzechukwu, let's try out heavyweight. But like on the same token, like what does Brzeski offer for him? It's not like he's going to take him down. He's not a better striker. He's not got crazy power in his hands. It's not even like you can root for a fluke, really. Like it seems like there's no real path to victory here, which is why you're seeing a short notice guy at negative 575. So as much as I can be excited about a 575 line on a guy who I don't think's all that good, I'm excited about Kennedy and Nzechukwu.
Yeah, this is not a good start to the evening. I'm taking him too. I'm not taking Brzeski. And Nzechukwu is a better fighter. He's even bigger. Despite moving up, he's a bigger fighter. He's a better fighter.
Because Brzeski's moving up too.
Exactly.
It's not like he's got like a weird size disadvantage that we're kind of like waiting for. I mean, his first 2 fights at heavyweight have been, Chris Barnett and Brzeski, who are, a real short guy and a guy who's not a heavyweight. So, be as excited about this experiment as you possibly can, right?
Yeah, we're excited. It shows you the quality of this fight, that it's the very first fight on the early prelims. Is not on the pay-per-view portion, which they would like to put a heavyweight fight. All right, let's move down. Guess this fight's better. It's funner at the very least. A lightweight fight. Clay Guida, Chase Hooper. Boy, this is a fun matchup. Not a fun line, fun matchup. Clay Guida is the carpenter, of course. 38 and 24. 7 knockouts, 14 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 11 times. He's 18 and 18 in the UFC. So he already had 26 fights under his belt before he got signed by the UFC. And he's fought 36 more times since then. He's lost 2 straight and only won 1 of his last 4. He's not fought since December 2023. He's not won since December 2022. I guess December, like Santa Claus. December is when Clay Guida shows up nowadays in the cage. Used to fight at down a weight class, featherweight, 1-1 in Strikeforce, and the former champion. You were right. Strikeforce never die. 2003, a pro MMA debut. Chase Hooper was born then. Yeah, barely though. 2-2-2 as a pro grappler. Better grappling stats than Hooper. He's been outstruck over his UFC career by 0.37 strikes per minute. Plus 675. Woo, boy, oh boy. The dream, no longer the teenage dream. Chase Hooper, 14-3-1, 4 knockouts, 7 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 6-3 in the UFC. He's won 3 straight and 4 of 5. 2 straight wins have come via submission. Used to fight down at featherweight as well. 1-0 contender series. Then you didn't get signed because you're too young, kid. Well, don't have him on the show to begin with then. But anyhow, multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. 1-1 as a grappler. 6 inches of height, 4 inches reach over Guida. 18 years younger. Oh boy. More active landing strikes than Guida. He's outstruck his opponents by 1.75 strikes per minute. Minus 910. Yikes. Obviously, Hooper's the pick here. Should be a fun fight. Hooper's
Why is obviously Hooper the pick here?
Oh,
now,
I'm just for me.
I want to hear what is infinitely better about Chase Hooper than Clay Guida that makes you love negative 910.
I don't love the number. He's going to win though. Okay, he's 18 years younger and half a foot taller. That's enough for me right there.
And what about that length is valuable for him in any way, shape, or form?
And he's a better grappler. Yeah, he's a better grappler.
I think he is better at jiu-jitsu than Clay Guida. I'm going to give you that. I think he's a better jiu-jitsu specialist than Clay Guida. I will give you that much. But to me, in this fight, I'm looking at a guy who I think has better, like, pure jiu-jitsu skills and is, like, a much worse boxer and probably a worse wrestler, too, if I'm being completely honest, right? Like, do you find Chase Hooper's grappling, like, particularly, like, interesting? Like
he's improving. At the very least, he's getting better. And Guida, you can't say is at this point. He's not really falling off, but he's not getting better.
But is it better to the point where you think his wrestling is better than Clay Guida's? Is my question for you. Like,
not many people's are at lightweight, so no, I wouldn't.
Well, and so then that's my point. Like, and is he outboxing anybody in the whole world? Like, are you gonna pick Clay Guida in a boxing, or are you gonna pick Chase Hooper in a boxing match
against Clay Guida? At this point, probably.
The point of the matter is that you have to say probably, and that's what gives me, like, if I have $100 and I have to put that $100 on this fight, I'm picking Clay Guida every time. And so I'm going to put Clay Guida down as my pick here because, look, I do think Chase Hooper is probably got a much brighter future. And, you know, he did beat him in a grappling. He did beat him in a grappling match. I do want to give you that because I know I'm going to get hit in the comments in a second about, like,
I forgot about that.
Him
a calf slicer too.
But the thing is that's a fight where Clay Guida has to go in and say, well, you know what I have to do right now is I have to do some jiu-jitsu and I have to do some wrestling. And right here, all he has to do with his wrestling is say no. He's just going to say, no, Mr. Hooper, I do not want to throw down with you on the mat. And I think he has that choice. And to your point, like, I asked you, would you pick Chase Hooper if this fight stays on the feet? Which I kind of think it does. And you said,
yeah,
probably. You said, probably, like that. Yeah. And so at negative 910, I don't want probably. I want, yes, definitively, I would take him in that situation. And I don't think he gets it to the ground unless Clay gets. I mean, Clay pretty much only panic wrestles when he gets tagged now.
Yeah.
And it's not like Hooper's going to hurt him with the hands, right? Like Hooper's not going to, stun him or anything like that, despite the reach, despite the youth, all that. I think Guida's got more power, probably. I love Clay Guida in this fight. I will also say, if you're not quite as high on Clay Guida, and what did you say the number was on Guida here?
675. Plus
if you don't want to get as nutty as with me in the 675, the real way to play Clay Guida right here is to just play the over. It's 1.5 rounds is negative 170. I don't think Hooper's gonna go in there and finish him in a round. And so, like, you're playing basically that Clay Guida's crazy cardio carries him for 7.5 minutes at, a pretty damn good number. So that's my play there too.
Never thought Chase Hooper would come between us, Gumby, but he has.
You love his boxing. You just love his boxing.
I don't love his boxing. I'm not taking Clay Guida at this point, but anyhow. All right. Should we tell people about Underdog? Gumby just got in a massive Underdog. I thought tomorrow was the day for him and his Underdogs, but no, he's doing it today too. Underdog Pick'em, has one of the biggest menus for all sports. They got NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. You can now use specials and boost in all flex entries. Maybe Gumby's got to play for you now. Maybe it's Al Horford. Maybe not.
You know how I love me some Al Horford, but no, usually we start here on NFL Thursday night football, because you're getting this obviously in your ears on Wednesday. I'm going to say Josh Jacobs scores a rushing touchdown against the Lions. I know the Lions defense has been pretty good, although they did look a little spotty against the Bears on Thanksgiving. So I'm going to say they look a little spotty again here. Josh Jacobs finds the end zone. You can get his higher than one rushing or receiving touchdown. And I like that one quite a bit.
All right. Sign up with our code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash on underdogfantasy.com. Promo code MMA SGPN. And we are brought to you by Rebet. Rebet is a new social sportsbook available in 45 states. There are plenty of betting opportunities available on Rebet. Easy to use and great for people in states where traditional sportsbooks may be restricted. Download Rebet in the App Store and use the promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $100. That's Rebet, promo code SGPN. All right. You have any more surprises for us this episode, Gumby?
I don't know.
I guess you liking Clay Guida is not a big surprise because you're.
Yeah,
you
shouldn't have been surprised that I love Clay Guida, and also
that's true.
You shouldn't be surprised that I want no part of Chase Hooper at damn near four figures.
No. Who? I'm just picking who I think.
Who did? You did.
Yeah, no, I'm not betting on it. I'm not betting on it in real life. I'm picking them to win though, because we don't lean.
Kind of sounds like you're leaning a little.
Not at all. I'm just saying in real life, I'm not playing that. I'm not putting money on not minus 910. Minus 910 anyone. What's the point? Maybe not even throw them in a parlay. Welterweight time, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Chiesa, Max Griffin. Yeah, Michael Chiesa still around. Not just in the booth. Oh, look at those graphics. I haven't looked at my screen yet. Gummy's got the graphics up for you again.
They're beautiful.
People love them. So okay, we are for the people, and if you love them, that's cool. Chiesa, of course, is Maverick, Mike. 17-7, 11 submissions. Is he ever going to knock out someone before he retires? Probably not. Probably not. Knocked out one. He's been knocked out once, submitted 5 times. 12-7 in the UFC. 1-3 over his last 4. 5-3 over his last 8. He did win via submission his last fight. That was against Tony Ferguson, though. But he submitted him at the very least. Used to fight at lightweight, has missed weight before at lightweight, but no issue now. He's up at welterweight, 4-0 on the Ultimate Fighter and the champion, a regional champion as well. 2010 Pro MMA debut, 2 inches height, 2 years younger than Griffin, which is funny. Michael Chiesa is actually younger than someone. Better grappling stats than Griffin, and he's outstruck his opponents by 0.14 strikes per minute, plus 108. Max Payne Griffin, 20-10, 9 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 8-8 in the UFC. Lost win over his last 4. 5-2 over his last 7. Used to fight at middleweight. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. 2009 Pro MMA debut. An inch reach over Chiesa. Better striking stats. Twice more active landing strikes. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 0.11 strikes per minute, minus 122. So a much closer line than I expected. You too or not?
Yeah, it's a little bit closer than I expected. I know they give credit to Chiesa, but yeah, this is Max Griffin all day for me. You got Chiesa with 1 or 2 feet out the door, depending on how you view his career. In his last 4 fights, he's only beaten Tony Ferguson, and count that with whatever sort of merit that you want. I just don't think he's the same guy anymore. He's not a guy who can go in there and take it to people with his grappling the way he used to once upon a time. And as a result, I think he's going to have to stand and get in a messy fight with Max Griffin. And not a lot of people look good in messy fights with Max Griffin. And Michael Chiesa doesn't strike me as the type who's going to come out of that looking rosy. I wouldn't be surprised if this wound up being kind of a close decision, though, because Max Griffin always finds a way into close decisions. But for me, I'm going to go with Griffin.
Yeah, there's a big Tony Ferguson grain of salt on his record for sure there. I got to go with Griffin, too. Just the size alone and size and strength alone, I think is going to be issues for Chiesa when he tries to grapple. And if Griffin does keep it on the feet, he's a way better striker than Chiesa. And as you said, Chiesa is an announcer basically at this point that dabbles in fighting. So Griffin is the pick here for me as well. All right, moving on to fun one, flyweights. Cody Durden, Joshua Van, 3 5-minute rounds. I forgot to say that so far, but it's 3 5-minute rounds. Durden is custom made. That is a new nickname, is it not?
No, I used it last time.
Did you? Okay. I don't like it. Oh, yeah. I think I made a lot of jokes about it. Okay. 17-6-1, 6 knockouts, 6 submissions. Knocked out. He's been knocked out once, submitted 4 times. 6-4-1 in the UFC. 1-2 over his last 3. 5-2 over his last 7. He did win his last fight via submission. Used to fight up at bantamweight. Regional champion. 4-0 in pro boxing. 2 inches height, 2 inches of reach over Van. He's barely outstruck his UFC opponents. He's at plus 0.04. He's at plus 125 on the board. The fearless Joshua Van, 11-2, 6 knockouts, 2 submissions. Knocked out once, submitted once. 4-1 in the UFC, 9-1 over his last 10. Won his last fight. Regional champion. 10 years younger than Durden. Better striking stats, twice more active landing strikes. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 2.3 strikes per minute, minus 148. I still have faith in Joshua Van. He is my pick here. 10 years younger, flyweight, can be way faster, and he can crack. So my boy Joshua Van is the pick here over Durden.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Van too. I'm going to go with a little bit of hesitation. I like him quite a bit in this fight. I'm worried about what happens when he wrestles for too long. You know, like in his last fight, I mean, his gas tank's good. He seems to gain momentum as time goes. You know, obviously his hands are good. I don't know what being knocked out when you get overzealous on the feet does to a kid at that age, though. You know, like you worry a little bit about whether or not that's going to make him put his foot on the brakes a little bit more than he usually does. And that's what makes him good, is right. Like he's all gas, no brakes. And so like if he comes out here with a little bit more hesitancy than he usually does against a guy like Durden, who, you know, can be suffocating and really difficult to deal with in terms of the way he closes distance, I think that could be a real problem. And I'm worried about what that will look like for Joshua Van. But with that being said, I think it's going to be on the feet enough. And he certainly does enough to like pop back up in bad situations and not settle into where he wants other people want him to be. And so like, I think he's got enough of that he should be able to find, success on the feet and wear down Cody Durden. But I'm real worried about what he looks like after all of that is said and done.
Yeah, Durden seems to surprise us from time to time. When we think we're out of the Cody Durden business, he drags us back in.
Yeah, so. I mean, I picked him a couple of times too. He's like done well for me in picks, but like, you know, it's just one of those ones where you have to like ask yourself a question about like, you know, what happens to a young prospect after that.
Well, it's a good test nonetheless for Joshua Van. So that's what we want to see with these young guys. We want to see them tested properly. Catchweight fight. We thought, speaking of thinking that we're out of the game and they dragged us back in, into the Chris Weidman, Eryk Anders business here. Was canceled a few weeks ago. Anders got food poisoning the night before the bout. Now they're fighting at a catchweight, 195 pounds, so they don't have to cut as drastically, a few weeks back to back here, which will help both of them because they both are not young fighters at this point in their careers. We already broke it down, but we'll break it down quickly again. We'll tell you about Ya Boy first. Eryk Anders, 16-8 with 1 no contest, 9 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 8-8 with 1 no contest in the UFC. Win over his last 3. 2-3 over his last 5. Used to fight at 205. Was the LFA champion. 3 years younger than Weidman. More active landing strikes than Weidman. He has been outstruck low in the UFC by 0.76 strikes per minute. He's at minus 104, so pretty much a pick him. The All-American Chris Weidman, 16-7, 6 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out 6 times, 12-7 in the UFC. The former champion at middleweight. He's won 1 of his last 3 and 2 of his last 5. He did win his last fight. Used to fight at light heavyweight. Was a regional champion. 2009 pro MMA debut. A wrestling champion. A grappling champion. Inch of height over Anders. 3 inches of reach. He's got better grappling stats. He has been outstruck, but barely. Minus 0.04. And he's at minus 110. So another UFC announcer heading back to the cage.
Yeah, he's like a part-time one, though.
Yeah.
He's the one that's like trying his hand at it. And I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to take Chris Weidman. It's not that I really love Chris Weidman or I really believe in this title run he keeps talking about or anything like that. But like,
never give up.
I do think that the thing about Eryk Anders is just kind of like his skills plateaued and kind of at a point where they never fully developed. I think he's a lot of athleticism and maybe the other pieces of his game could have been rounded out better. And again, that's his second career, really. Like he was a college football player, very high level one at Alabama. And so like, it's not his fault that those skills maybe didn't come along as much as other people's, but the athleticism has always carried him. And when your athleticism is like kind of like being a bruiser and putting yourself in clinch situations and getting a little bit of your own wrestling going and, you know, being the stronger, more physical guy, like that's great until you run into a guy who actually knows how to wrestle. And in this case, I think I think the actual wrestling of Chris Weidman is going to make this a tough day for Eryk Anders. So yeah, I'm going to sprinkle here on Mr. Weidman.
All that I agree with all you said, but I'm still taking Eryk Anders. I can't trust Chris Weidman at this point. Not that gung ho on Eryk Anders, but I do like him better against Chris. I like anyone pretty much better against.
I like how this
Chris
episode for you, the technical breakdown is I just can't ever.
It's true.
That
that kind of sums up this card in a way, does it not?
Hang on, we got a couple more of them coming too.
Yeah, exactly.
The main event of the prelims, you could say that.
That is pretty much this. Yeah, that one's a massive one. That's pretty much like I said, summation of the fight card. But yeah, Anders is not my boy, but he's my pick for this fight, and he's not partying anymore. I don't know if that make him better or worse. Apparently, he was pretty out of control up until fairly recently. So, according to him, so we'll see. All right, ya boy is ya pick here. Let's move on. Let's do one more fight before we tell you about some more lovely sponsors. We are into the main prelim portion of the card now. Welterweight fight kicks off the prelim portion. ESPN 2, ESPN Plus, 8 p.m. And it's a good one, a real good one. Welterweights, Brandon Brown, Bryan battle. Kind of don't like to have to pick against all of these people, but let's break her down. Rude boy Randy Brown, 19-5, 7 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted twice. 13-5 in the UFC. He's won 3 straight and 7 of 8. Was a regional champion. 2014 pro MMA debut. 2 inches height, 1 inch reach over battle. He's got better grappling stats in battle, and he's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 1.18 strikes per minute, plus 195. The Butcher, Bryan battle. No, Pooh Bear, Bryan battle. Around these parts, 11-2 with 1 no contest, 4 knockouts, 5 submissions. So a couple of well-rounded dudes here. He's been submitted once. 6-1 with 1 no contest in the UFC. 3-0 with 1 no contest over his last 4. Won his last fight via TKO. He's not lost since December 2022. Missed weight before at welterweight, but he was on track last fight because he's fought at every weight class from welterweight upwards. Middleweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight. 2-0 on the Ultimate Fighter and the champion of his season. Was a regional champion. He's also 4 years younger than Brown, more active lighting strikes. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 1.3 strikes per minute, minus 225. Like I said, this is not cut and dry for me. I'm going to take Bryan battle. I like him at welterweight. Randy Brown's a guy who's used to being longer than his opponents, and he's only got like 1 inch, 2 inches of height. So he's he's battling someone the same size. He's also battling someone who is just as good at him everywhere. Like Bryan battle is good everywhere, as is Randy Brown. And I like what I've been seeing from Bryan battle. I like this test for him. This is a perfect step up for him in competition. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I wouldn't really be sad if either guy won because I like them both as fighters. But Pooh Bear, I'm going with Pooh Bear.
I'm going to go with Pooh Bear too here. I think for me, that piece about the length is kind of my tipping point here. I think Randy Brown is used to being able to poke at people from a distance that they're not able to get at him. And that's tough. And that's a problem for him because here against Pooh Bear, it's going to be a problem. He's going to be in his face. He's going to be able to hit him from everywhere he's hitting him. The kicks are kind of a big piece of it. I will say, if you're one of those people out there being like, oh, well, then I'll just throw, Pooh Bear in every single parlay, he's negative, what'd you say, 225?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get him at 225 in parlays. I don't feel safe at that number, especially because, I think people forget Randy Brown can kind of secretly wrestle. And if you remember the one loss that Bryan battle has since moving to welterweight, it was via wrestling. Renat Fakhretdinov kind of controlled him on the ground and beat him up for 3 rounds. And, maybe he's improved a little bit since then. His jiu-jitsu game's different. Obviously, Randy Brown wrestles differently than Renat, but that's in the back of my head in terms of how much do I love a negative 225 line on Pooh Bear. But I'll go Pooh Bear in this one.
Yeah, Randy Brown, he's one of those guys that doesn't really get respect ever for some reason. I insulted Gumby and he left. Oh, there he's back. He doesn't seem to get the respect that he his resume has earned him, I think. But anyhow, I don't mind if he loses this fight though. That's fine. I do like Bryan battle. I like what we've been seeing him at welterweight now that hopefully he's got the weight on track and he's not going to miss weight again. You didn't talk about how hot he is at welterweight, Gumby. Usually that's your go-to. Talk about how good he looks at welterweight. Gumby.
He is ripped as hell.
There you go. That's what we're looking for. He is. It's true. He's not look like Pooh Bear anymore. Maybe that's why he's the Butcher now, or he wants to be the Butcher. All right. Before we move on, Gumby actually complimented one of my breakdowns there, which was impressive, instead of yelling at me about Chase Hooper. MyBookie.ag is where we're going now. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has been running on SGPN. That's their name, right? For years. Check out their new and improved website. Great on mobile. Plus, they have props for every game and the live dealer casino. Even new early cash out options. Check out the UFC 310 lines over at MyBookie and head there with our promo code SGPN when you get there. And if you do that, you get 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. And SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. Get predictions for betting on moneyline spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. You can now track props in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, and NBA. Rhythm has it all. Do they have Al Horford props? Of course they do. Check them out. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RTHMM. Need to talk to the bosses about changing that code to ALHORFORD. All our codes should be that from now on.
Al Horford.
Al Horford. No one has mentioned yet about us. What's your fascination with Al Horford? I mean, no one's listening.
I used to put him in every single underdog fantasy entry.
He's kind of risky though. Sometimes he doesn't show up, but when he does show up, he really, really shows up. You get like 5 3-pointers in a half. Wild. All right, let's move on, shall we? Say something, Gumby. Are you my ear still?
I can.
There you are.
Hear you. Yeah, I'm,
okay,
I'm here. I said I talked about Al Horford. I talked.
Yeah,
about
I heard that.
Yeah, I'm here.
If it looked like earlier I was being rude to Gumby and ignoring him, trying to interrupt,
he was.
I didn't hear him.
And then we had to cut out a section where I was not talking and he wasn't saying anything. So.
We are firing on all cylinders today, ladies and gentlemen. All right, featherweight bout. It should be on the main card. Why is the 2 featherweight bouts that are on the main card? Oh, we know why. We talked about it last episode. Dana White hates Movsar Evloev. Dana White hates Aljamain Sterling, and they're both fighting each other. So I guess why? So one of them can get a loss and he can cut them. Is that the plan here?
I mean, I don't know that he's going to cut them, but like not have to worry about them out grappling a champion or something that.
Yeah. All right, we're going to tell you about, speaking of champions, Funkmaster Aljamain Sterling, much maligned for no real reason. He got hit with an illegal knee. Like it wasn't his fault.
And then
maybe played it up a bit. Everyone hates him. Everyone hates the victim here. Anyhow, I know he played it up a bit, but come on. He's 24-4, 3 knockouts, 8 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 16-4 in the UFC, and the former champion of the world. 10-1 over his last 11 fights. He did win his last fight. He was the champion down at bantamweight. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. 2011 Pro MMA debut. Better striking stats than Evloev. More active landing strikes than Evloev. And he has outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 2.31 strikes per minute. That's a very nice number. Plus 220, which is another nice number if you want to bet on him. Evloev, 18-0. He's PFL written all over him. A undefeated Russian grappler. 18-0, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions, 8-0 in the UFC. Used to fight at bantamweight as well. Regional champion, 2014 Pro MMA debut. An inch of reach over Sterling. So basically these guys are the same size despite Sterling coming up because Evloev's coming up as well. He's 5 years younger than Sterling. He's got better grappling stats. He's outstruck his opponents. Not quite as much as Sterling does, but it's still a good number. 1.54 minus 260. Gumby. Wide line.
I'm going Aljamain Sterling.
Good. Yeah, sold me on it. I wanted to. I was gonna be safe, but I'm like, no, Sterling's worth it for a plus 220. Sure. Tell the people why.
And I think people forget how good Aljamain Sterling's striking looked at in the end of his bantamweight run. Mm-hmm. And I know he got starched by Sean O'Malley, and everybody will point to that. But like, if you watch the couple of fights before that, his hands really got going. It wasn't just his dominant wrestling that made him a champ for as long as he was. It was like he outstruck Piotr Jan at parts in that fight, and we just watched Piotr Jan in the cage with Davison Figueiredo, and how hard is it to have any moments against that guy, right? Like, that guy is absolutely a sharp dude when it comes to defensive striking, and there were times where Aljamain Sterling looked really good in that fight on the feet. I think people forget how good of a striker he is, and for me, I think that's the difference maker in this fight, because Movsar Evloev, is he a good wrestler? Like above average, but I don't think like a superlative wrestler. You know, we're talking about a guy with a 46% takedown average.
Mhm.
You know, like he doesn't even hit half of his takedowns. And granted, that some of that's because he's spamming a lot of them, and he's relentless with them. But is that like a game plan against Aljamain Sterling to relentlessly shoot takedowns? It didn't work for anybody to do that to try to beat him. You know, like who is beating Aljamain Sterling by relentlessly spamming takedowns on him? Like it just doesn't make any sense. So for me, like I think the kickboxing of Evloev is wanting. I don't think he's particularly good when it comes to the feet, and I don't think he can get enough of his grappling going here. And the fact that Aljo's coming in at 2-1 here, I'm kind of shocked by it, but I will take it.
It's because people hate Aljo. That's pretty much it, or they don't respect him for some reason.
I think too. Yeah. There's something to I've referred to it as the Russian rub more than once on here, but like I think there's something to being a Russian guy with an EV last name and an undefeated record. But like we have to contextualize that too. Like we've said about a lot of fighters, it's like it's really easy to look at the records or their stats and say, oh boy, look at that, and then but what does it mean in the grand scheme of things? And I've never really been all that impressed with a lot of his wins.
Sterling is at least in his ballpark in grappling, right? And wrestling.
Yeah.
And
I'd say better in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's better at striking. So works for me, right?
Yeah.
Sterling is the pick for this price. He's got to be the pick. Welterweight co-main event of the prelims. Vicente Luque, Themba Gorimbo. I will tell you about Luque first. The silent assassin is 22-10-1, 11 knockouts, 8 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted twice. He's 15-6 in the UFC. He's 1-3 over his last 4. Lost his last fight via TKO. 1-1 the Ultimate Fighter. He used to fight at middleweight. 2009 pro MMA debut. More active landing strikes than Gorimbo. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.14 strikes per minute. He's at plus 136. The answer at Themba Gorimbo. 14-4, 2 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted twice. 4-1 in the UFC. He's taken this fight on short notice. He's won 4 straight and 5 of 6. He's a regional champ. Used to fight at lightweight. 2013 pro MMA debut. 2 inches of height, 2 inches reach over Luque. Better striking stats, better grappling stats. He's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 2.04 strikes per minute, minus 150. Going against my short notice stats again. I'm taking the short notice guy here. I don't have faith in Luque at this point, even though he's won a fight since I said I don't have faith in him. But Gorimbo, hopefully we'll take him down and take care of this on the ground. Even though stats say he's better striking than Luque as well, I don't want him to get into a slugfest with this silent assassin. But I think he's good enough all around that he can beat Vicente Luque at this point in his career. So give me the answer. That's the answer to the question of who I'm picking here.
I would not count on him taking down Vicente Luque and beating him there. If I'm you in this situation, and I'm not because I'm taking Vicente Luque.
Okay.
If I'm you, a guy on short notice who doesn't have enough time to prepare for Vicente Luque shooting blindly at his legs is going to get Dars choked. I'm telling you, we
at least get a jumping gilly.
It's going to be a Dars choke because that's what Vicente Luque loves. Vicente Luque loves front headlock positions like Dars chokes, anaconda chokes. Those are his forte. And I like Themba. I think Themba hits really hard. But I also think Themba is wanting quite a bit when it comes to defensive striking and defensive grappling, right? Like we saw it in the AJ Fletcher fight. He got beat by AJ Fletcher by getting kind of reckless in the clinch and then winding up. Did he get taken down and choked at the end of that too? I can't remember what the ghost.
I don't want to remember.
The ghost AJ Fletcher did in that fight. But look, I think he's got a really high ceiling. I think this is a bad matchup for him on short notice. Not having the time to prepare for Vicente Luque and just jumping into that fight. And it's a big step up in competition, right? Who are we talking about Themba having recently beat that even, holds a candle to Vicente Luque, right? We're talking about a guy coming off of a big unanimous decision over Nico Price or, his grappling heavy approach against Ramiz Brahimaj or Pete Dead Game Rodriguez, right? It's not like he's out there beating ranked guys all the time. We're 2 years removed from Vicente Luque having taken 2 rounds off of Bilal Muhammad in a main event. He took 2 rounds off of Bilal in that fight. That says something to me within the last 2 years that there's still something left in the tank of Luque. And I think it's enough to beat somebody like Themba Gorimbo.
Didn't he have a brain issue within the past 2 years as well, though, from getting hit so much? So I don't know.
I would say a lot of fighters most likely have a brain issue.
Yeah.
Speaking of brain issues, Anthony Smith's fight.
Yeah, Gumby's throwing his lot in with the old guys in this episode. We shall see. I guess the main event of the prelims are both old guys. Light heavyweights. Dominick Reyes, Anthony Smith. Oh, please don't make us choose between these two guys. Break our hearts here. A Lionheart, Anthony Smith, 38 and 20 knockouts, 15 submissions. He's been knocked out 11 times, submitted 4 times, 13 and 10 in the UFC over 2 stints. He has had a remarkable career. He got cut after 1 UFC fight and fought his way back. So I will give him credit for that. He just says goofy things now. That's all. He's gone win-loss over his last 4, 2-4 over his last 6. He's fed in middleweight. He's got multi-weight championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get our shirt, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. 2-0 in Bellator, 2-2 in Strikeforce. Strikeforce never die. 2 Strikeforce fighters fighting on the same card. This is a wacky card here. Missed weight before at 185. 2008 pro MMA debut. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 1.36 strikes per minute. He's at plus 275. The Devastator, Dominick Reyes. The Devastated, 13-4, 8 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times, 7-4 in the UFC, 1-4 over his last 5, won his last 5 via KO. After we all wrote him off, he's not lost since November 2022. It helps when you don't fight. 2014 pro MMA debut, an inch of reach over Smith, a year younger. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes than Smith is. He's struck his opponents with 1.12 strikes per minute, minus 333. So another former collegiate football player on this card. And you get to wrap up this beautiful episode.
I'm fine going with Dominick Reyes here. It doesn't even give me too much panic. I will say, again, maybe my new expression here. I'm not backing the Brinks truck up for Dominick Reyes. I'm probably not throwing him in a parlay, but I do think he comfortably wins this fight with Anthony Smith, being that what's Anthony Smith's number one path to victory in all of his fights lately is somebody doing something dumb grappling and him taking advantage of it. Right. That's how he beat Vitor Petrino. And Dominick Reyes, we've sort of jokingly talked about his career because he was a good wrestler at once upon a time. He head kicked that guy in it was an LFA fight, right? He head kicked that guy. And after that, he was like, I'm a striker now. It's just true. I'm never going to wrestle again. And maybe it's to his detriment, but actually here it's perfect. It's exactly what he needs to do. He needs to not wrestle. He needs to not do something dumb in the grappling. And I think he's got enough that he can, keep it on the feet. He showed in his last fight, there's still a little power in those hands. I think this is the perfect fight for him stylistically, a guy who wants to grapple and has been sort of easily knocked out as of late. So yeah, I'll take Reyes here.
Yeah, UFC are doing Dominick Reyes a favor here. They're actually doing a few people favors on this year card. So yeah, Reyes is my pick as well. Surprisingly, I'm taking Dominick Reyes at minus 333, but
in the year of our Lord 2024.
In the year of our Lord, almost 2025. Yeah, you can't really trust Smith at this point. And Reyes surprised me last fight. He actually got a win. The concern was about his chin, but I don't think he's going to get knocked out by Anthony Smith. You would hope not. If he does, it's time to retire. So Reyes is the pick here. All right, recap. Dominick, we both have Reyes. He has Luque. I have Gorimbo. We both have Sterling. We both have Battle. He has Weidman. I have Anders. You are going with the old guys, even though Anders is old too. We both have Van.
That's the young guy.
Yep. We both have Griffin. You have Guida. I have Hooper. And we both have Nzechukwu. We started things off with a bang, that's for sure. All right, you're all set, at least for the prelims. Come back tomorrow. Get some more from us. We'll get you all our fancy plays, and of course, we'll wrap up the main card pay-per-view portion. If you need more of us before then, if you can't wait for a few more hours, we'll be in the Discord. You can summon us there if need be. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. You can summon us in our comment section on YouTube. And if you say something nice, you may get an episode dedicated to you. Ha ha ha. MMA Gambling Podcast. SGPN MMA on Twitter. He's gonna be reading. I'm Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. I have a Substack. I have a free UFC Pick'em contest running for this event. Check it out at moneymma.substack.com. Gumby has Top Turtle MMA podcast. It was up in the air. It was a mystery as to who he was going to have on this week. I assume by this point, you've got it settled.
No, at the time of recording, it's still kind of TBD.
Wow.
So
okay.
I know for sure one, Max Holzer, who's fighting on this weekend's Octagon card, is going to be on there. And as long as my interview schedule for right after we finish recording here stays pat. You'll also hear Max Payne Griffin on there as well.
All right. You can't trust athletes all the time for showing up to interviews, but hopefully everything pans out for Gumby.
Max is usually good for me. I'm always hesitant to say something when it's not.
Yeah, of course. Yep. You do not want to. Well, you can always edit this if need be. Don't edit this part out. SportsGamblingPockets.com is the place to be. Gumby and I are all over that place. What we write so much every day. SportsGamblingPockets.com. Not just us, though. And there's a bunch of other people as well. If you're tired of us, you can also obviously the app. You want to download our app, and then you can access it right there. You can also check out sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. You can get lots of cool swag in there, and sportsgamblingpockets.com/Patreon to get yourself some extra content, because we all need extra content. We'll be back tomorrow. Custom made, Jeff Fox, brewed by Gumby Vreeland. Bye-bye.